The romantic job seeker. I didn't think in a million years I would ever be one of these people who shares their story of being a scam victim, but here I am. In June of 2024, I was going through quite a bit in my life. I had just lost my job, a job I held for 23 years, and was let go without any regard for my years of service. And to be fair, others were laid off from work too, but that sting was very real. 2 years prior to this, my husband and I had divorced. While it was a short 5 years of marriage, the messy divorce had led me to start over. Like a typical country music song, I was left with nothing but my job and moved from a large home to a small apartment and just left to cope with everything. I met Kenneth, and I guess I was at a low point in my life when he came into my life. I had a couple of close friends pass away in a short time span, my divorce, my job loss, the financial state of things. Now, I'm not making excuses, but I'm setting the scene of my emotional state when this took place. I wasn't in my right mind, and at least that's how I felt like it was looking back. Kenneth messaged me on Facebook. He had come across a comment I made on a celebrity scandal. It was on one of those celebrity gossip group pages that's pretty much open to anyone. He told me that my comment was funny and very smart, and that he'd love to get to know me better. Now, keep in mind, I was off of work, collecting unemployment, and searching for a new career path. And while applying for jobs, let's be fair, sometimes the boredom gets the best of you, and I started commenting on social media on gossip group pages and celebrity pages. Kenneth looked like a nice enough guy. He messaged me after he replied to my comment and asked if we could be friends and asked me to send him a friend's request. I did so as his profile looked normal. He didn't have any lewd or questionable stuff, nor was he rude or vulgar to me, and believe me, so many are, so I gave him a chance. Kenneth said he was 53 years old and a widow. His daughter Olivia was 9 years old, and he's been raising her as a single father since she was 4 after his wife had passed away. He told me that he owned a construction company. Then he said he worked for a construction company. I figured it was maybe a typo and that they built houses. That he got government contracts to build houses in remote locations where housing was needed, such as villages and overseas countries, and that his company always had government contracts going. I found it to be interesting, and I joked with him, telling him I needed a house and a new job, and asked if he was hiring. He told me he might be hiring, as his company always looks for new bright faces and smart minds. He asked what I did for a living, and I told him I had worked as a safety inspector for processing plants, but I was laid off due to cutbacks, and now I'm just sitting home getting lazy. He was not super romantic or fast like romance scammers tend to be. He actually chatted about his work and his home. He said he lived in Dallas, Texas. He told me he travels a lot and his mother watches his daughter while he's working. Our conversation started out mostly about his daughter, then his work. He didn't speak too much about his wife, who had passed away and had a long battle with lung cancer, and he just said he hadn't dated anyone but was more focused on his career and his daughter than finding love. I told him I understood and my life was my job until I was laid off. I told him a bit about my divorce, but I didn't elaborate on it. Kenneth kept telling me his company would be hiring and maybe he could put in a good word. He said he was based out of Dallas and I live in Georgia, so I told him moving wasn't feasible right now due to my finances. But Kenneth said his company that he works for does pay for relocation if there'd ever be a position that would open up that I could do. I joked with him and told him I would love to start tomorrow. Hire me right away. We kept our friendship in the coming weeks. He would pop up here and there to check in on me and asked if I had WhatsApp and a resume, as he could submit it to the HR director of the department, and in the event something comes up, maybe I'd be right for the job. I thought, what harm could it do? I had my resume on every job site you could think of already, and the pickings were very slim. I had about 8 more weeks before my unemployment ran out, and I knew I could extend it because I'm living where the job market is a little poor. But I just wanted to get back to work. Kenneth, over the weeks, would often message to check on me, asking if I was dating anyone online. I told him no, and he confessed that he had growing feelings for me. I told him that I don't date online and I'd rather meet someone in person. I don't want a long distance relationship. And he told me that he could make it work for me because he's been single for so long. He's successful and he wants to help me, not only to feel loved as a caring man, but climb the corporate ladder with the company he works for. He wanted us to be this powerhouse duo. The fantasy he painted was really nice, and we started talking daily late into the night. He told me there was a position opening up in his company for an admin, but it would mean me having to relocate to Dallas for work. But Kenneth said we could be together and work together. We could live in his house in Dallas and spend every waking moment with each other. Now, I admit I was falling for his sweet words, and the thought of working a new job in a new city with a fresh start with a sweet man was very appealing. Kenneth had my resume, and he told me the owner of the company would be calling me the next day for a phone interview. I was serious, but he told me just wait. The next day, a man named Jared called me to conduct this phone interview for the position. He asked me the basic questions about my ability, my previous work history, and told me Kenneth recommended me for the job. I shared with him, but I live in Georgia, and he asked me if I was up for relocation if he was chosen for me for the position, and that the company would pay to relocate me to Dallas and put me up in a luxury apartment. It sounded amazing, and I really wanted this to work out. He told me they would call by Friday with their decision, and in the meantime, Kenneth and I continued talking and growing our relationship. I told him, though, from a professional level, this is not good. We shouldn't date and work in a position of power. But Kenneth told me he couldn't help himself and we could keep things a secret until I was settled, and he would make sure I continued to get promoted until I was his equal. Then it wouldn't be a problem. He was very sweet and romantic, loving and caring, and he would call me nightly and even sing songs to me. When Friday came, I received a call from Jared, who congratulated me. I was chosen out of over 100 candidates for the position. He would send over a packet, a contract for me to sign for employment. I was elated and so excited. I kind of knew I was the front runner, but still. Jared sent me over the employee contract, which included a huge salary and a bonus if I met the financial quotas set for the company. He then sent me the information on the apartment I would have, and it included the monthly rent being paid by the company and a move-in date for the first week of next month, which left me little time. I signed the employee packet, which included me sending a copy of my driver's license and social security card back over with the packet. After doing this, I started packing. I informed unemployment that I had hired for a new job, and I did all the things you're meant to do when moving and preparing to move and doing all my legal paperwork for unemployment. Kenneth called me one evening to tell me that his company was sending him to London for a business meeting and that he would be back in 2 weeks. That would actually cause him to not be there when I would be moving to Dallas, and I was upset and disappointed. But he told me, as soon as he returns from London, he would come to my apartment for us to be together and meet. He then told me, once I'm there for some months' time and I climbed the ladder, and once I was his equal, we could take and announce our relationship and I could move into his house. We talked most of the night. I had signed my contract and emailed it to Jared, and Jared sent me a picture of the apartment, which I've included in my email to you, as well as photos of the keys, which he said would be waiting at the rental office. Kenneth left for his flight to London. I continued packing, and he messaged me when he got there. I then received an email from Jared letting me know my position of the rental deposit of the apartment. He said that since the company is paying for my rent, and I've not passed my 90-day probationary period with the company, I would be responsible for the deposit on the apartment, which equaled $3,000. This was a huge amount of money that I didn't budget for, but Jared pointed out that the company is taking a gamble on me, and Kenneth had given me a glowing recommendation, so the company went ahead and waived the apartment rent fee that they normally charge new employees for 3 months, and that they would start me out at a higher wage. So it did seem only fair that I paid the deposit. I let Jared know I would have it sent via PayPal to the rental company. He gave me the email address of what I thought at the time was the rental company, as the email they gave me had rental agent in the email address. I ended up sending $3,000 via PayPal. The name was also on the account, and it was Jared's name and a last name, which I'll not disclose in the event the person was just a money mule. He said he would forward the money to the rental agency after he signed off on it. I tried calling Kenneth regarding this, but he didn't answer. I just assumed he was busy with meetings in London. Jared told me the apartment is ready and I can begin moving next week, and I would start work that week after on a Monday. He then, however, told me that I would need to open a Verizon phone account and purchase an iPhone for work as it's required. I only had an Android at the time and it was a prepay. I didn't know anything about iPhones or using Verizon service. He told me to go to a Verizon store and open up an account, purchase an iPhone plan, and then give him the login information so the company can reimburse me after my 90-day probationary period. I ended up going to Verizon and opening an account. I got a basic plan plus an iPhone. The plan, along with the phone, which I put on payments, would make my bill $268 a month, which is a lot considering I was on a prepay for around $35 a month from one of the cheaper carriers. Jared asked me to set up the online Verizon account, give him the login information, the secret passwords, everything, so the company can verify and credit my account after 90 days. I did so, gave him all the information, and I went about my packing. Kenneth finally called me saying he was having some trouble in London. His phone was not working right, and the company told him he has to purchase an iTunes card for $500 to activate his phone while overseas to be able to download important documents. He was frantic when he called me saying he was securing a big deal for the company and he couldn't download the information because his phone was out of data and he needed an iTunes card. He asked me to buy it for him, and I told him that's a lot of money. I can't afford that. I'm already out 3 grand for the move-in fee and the phone I had to set up for work, which he never had told me about. Well, Kenneth got angry with me, and keep in mind, I've only known the sweet side of him. He got angry telling me that he got this job for me, that he knows I'm unable to do the work, but he got the job for me anyways, and I'm not qualified, and the least I can do for him is stop being so ungrateful and just buy the card. Well, I was shocked at his anger. I told him $500 is a ton of money. He told me it's nothing compared to the apartment cost and the money I'll be working at this new job and what I'll be making. I guess at the time he was right, and I ended up buying him the card, I guess more out of feeling guilty and that I owed him. So I got the card and sent him a picture of the back. In the meantime, Jared called me to tell me the rental agency is needing another fee of $200 for the carpet cleaning deposit. I told him I don't have any more cash and take it out of my first paycheck. But he said they can't, but that the rental agency, since I'm far away, will accept a gift card for payment, either in the form of an Apple Card, a Sephora, Amazon, or a Vanilla Visa. I was so frazzled by this time as my house is packed, I booked a rental truck. I grabbed the nearest card at the local store, which happened to be an Amazon card. I loaded $200 on it and I sent it to Jared. I called Kenneth and told him what happened, but Kenneth said there was more of a problem, that the contract fell through and Jared had just fired him and stranded him in London. What? I was so shocked and upset. What is going to happen? What is going on? He told me Jared got mad because he couldn't secure the contract and he wasn't interested anymore, that he tried his best but that the company didn't want the contract and they went with another company, and Jared fired him and canceled his plane ticket home. I told him that's illegal, that's cruel. Now what? I don't want to work for someone like that, especially if Kenneth won't be there. Kenneth said we should just forget about everything and he can fly to see me and we can figure something out and build our life together in Georgia, but he needs to get home. He asked me for $1,500 so he can book his flight as Jared had canceled his flight and closed his company credit card, and Kenneth didn't take his debit card with him because he just always used the company card. By this time, I was running around and my mind was spinning. I canceled the moving truck and emailed Jared telling him I'm declining the job because of what he did to Kenneth and that he was a cruel and evil boss. Jared emailed me back telling me that if I cancel, I'll be sued for $50,000 for the apartment rental. I told him I never signed a lease for the apartment, only an employment contract, and that didn't even start yet. He can't sue me and win. Jared then demanded I give him $20,000 in hush money for his trouble, so I blocked his email as spam. Jared then started calling me, so I blocked his number. Then Kenneth called, telling me Jared had made threats to have him arrested in London for business fraud and he needed to get out right now. Kenneth asked me to transfer $1,500 to an account in London. It happened to be a school friend of his who just happens to live in London so he can book the flight so Jared wouldn't find him and find out where he's at. This was all crazy. Here I am with a packed house, I'm out thousands of dollars, and I'll have to try and get my unemployment back, and Kenneth is in trouble. He called constantly asking for help, telling me he loves me, all while trying to wrap my head around everything. I finally gave in and did a bank transfer to his friend in London, whose first name was Mark. The transfer went through and I stopped hearing from Kenneth. I called, messaged, and his profiles on social media had vanished. I even tried calling the airport in London, but they were no help. I then went back online to try and see if I could find him on social media with another profile. I typed in Kenneth's name and last name, and to my horror, tons of Facebook and Instagram and dating profiles, even from Tinder and a site called VK, came up, all with Kenneth's photos, different names, ages, locations. I tried again and again to call Kenneth, but he wouldn't answer. It would ring once and cut off with a busy signal. Then I did a deep dive and found the email address to the company that was so called Jared's company email showed up on several scam sites as job scams. I knew I'd been had, and I'd lost so much. I had to call the unemployment office to try and reinstate my claim, which took weeks. I went without. I had to sell some of my stuff to get by, and I unpacked my house again. Oh, and the apartment complex that I was set to move into in Dallas, I called them. They didn't have me as a resident nor an application. They didn't even have openings for apartments and had a 6-month wait list, and they'd never heard of the company that I was set to work for. This nightmare, though, it didn't end. I received a bill from Verizon for over $2,000 thanking me for my additional lines and phones. Someone had gone into my Verizon account online and opened up more lines and had pending orders for a new phone, which was set to be sent to Kansas to some woman I didn't even know. I filed a police report and finally got Verizon to close my account, but not after it costing me cancellation fees. All in all, I was out over 6 grand between the gift cards, the phones, the money, and everything. I felt like a damn fool. Oh, and Kenneth? He still has profiles on social media. I messaged a few of them and was met with being blocked or being told I don't know who you are. I don't know if it's the same scammer or many using this so called Kenneth's photo, but I learned a very hard and costly lesson. I thank you for letting me get this out, and as an update, I finally found a great job and have financially recovered from all this. Emotionally, though, I refuse to chat with anyone online, whether they are real or fake. Thank you. We'd like to thank this lady for sharing her story. These type of scams happen often, especially now in the job market. People are looking for better jobs, they're looking for work, and a lot of scammers will tie in a romance scam to a job scam and try to take you for tons of money. Remember, it shouldn't cost you anything to get a job. And if you're in a romantic relationship with somebody and they ask you for money, gift cards, if they're stranded, no matter what the story, it's always best to listen to your gut instinct and block them. If you'd like to share your story, you can find me scammingscammers@gmail.com. Just write your story to me. Any screenshots help me to verify the story, and then I will narrate it into a video. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and as always, don't give money or gift cards to people you don't know. Take care.